good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are joining us for this meeting. Thank you very much for your registration and participation in the first meeting of the WCO Customs Work Organization Forum. A warm welcome to you all to this WCO platform to share your vision, input, and innovative ideas on the future of work in customs. It is my pleasure to make the following housekeeping announcements. Please ensure that you provide your and your organization's name when accessing the meeting on Zoom in order for your comments to be taken into consideration. The meeting will be for 3 hours from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Brussels time. In order to cover all the items of the agenda in these 3 hours, we are kindly requesting you to support us and to cooperate. You are strongly encouraged to send your questions, comments, and inputs using the chat and messaging box. You can submit your comments in English, French, Arabic, Spanish, Russian, and Portuguese. If you take the floor to speak, you are kindly encouraged to keep your intervention to the allocated time. When you take the floor, the facilitator of the meeting will introduce you and the Zoom operator will invite you to the floor as a panelist. You will then have the control to activate your camera and microphone. There will be simultaneous interpretation in English and French. You can choose the language channel at the bottom of your screen by clicking on the globe icon. The meeting will be recorded and will be made available to the global customs community and to WCO partners. You will find a link to the recording, the documents of the meeting, and a report on the event web page of the WCO website. We are very happy to have you today and to announce that we have over 700 participants representing 169 countries worldwide. We are particularly happy to count among us as participants today Directors General, Commissioners, CEOs, HCM of directors, customs specialists, professors, and consultants from customs administrations, the private sector, international organizations, academia, private consultants, and civil society. A special thank you to you all. This shows the importance that you attach to this very vital topic. I wish you all very successful deliberations and discussions. I will now give the floor to Mr. C. Mohammed and I to share with you the roadmap and the outcomes of the CWOF meetings. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tafili. Afin de permettre à tous les participants d'être au même pied d'égalité et de compréhension sur la raison d'être d'avoir un forum sur l'organisation du travail douanier, j'aimerais un peu partager avec vous cette feuille de route qui va permettre un peu de voir où on a été, où nous sommes actuellement et où on va y aller avec vous ensemble. Sachez que ce forum est pour nous tous ensemble, à travers tous ceux qui ont été cités par M. Tafilé, pour bâtir le futur du travail en douane. Sachez aussi qu'il s'agit d'un chemin d'apprentissage pour lequel nous tous, on a été heurtés par la pandémie, mais qui nous a permis de revoir nos façons de faire des erreurs, d'apprendre de nos erreurs, mais aussi de penser et de réfléchir ensemble sur qu'est-ce qui devrait être le futur du travail en douane. Sachez que nous avons commencé à discuter sur ces thématiques lors de la réunion du comité de renforcement de capacité, la 13e réunion du renforcement de capacité et la 88e session de la Commission de la politique générale et aussi de la 139e et 149e session du Conseil de l'OMD. Il a été suivi aussi par des discussions qui viennent, si vous vous rappelez, de la conférence qu'on a eue du 10 au 11 octobre sur la conférence globale de l'OMD sur la gestion du capital humain portant sur le bien-être au travail. Ça a été suivi actuellement avec la réunion qu'on vient d'avoir actuellement qui portera sur, on va partager avec vous les résultats de l'enquête que nous avons menée et je tiens tout particulièrement à remercier tous ceux et celles qui ont pris le temps de participer à cette enquête. Vous étiez très, très nombreux. Tout à l'heure, je vais en parler. Mais aussi, ça va être un peu une discussion, ce qu'on va mener aujourd'hui, qui va un peu définir le futur du travail. En 2022-2023, bientôt, vous allez recevoir aussi une invitation pour partager avec nous vos meilleures pratiques. Mais pour pouvoir un peu rédiger le recueil de l'OMD des meilleures pratiques en matière d'organisation de travail, mais sachez aussi qu'il y aura des réunions du Forum sur l'organisation du travail douanier qui auront lieu, selon l'agenda qu'on va vous présenter tout à l'heure, au mois de mai et au mois de décembre de l'année prochaine, si l'agenda est validé comme il est. Les termes de référence, excusez-moi, est validé comme il est. Il y aura aussi, là, le recueil va bénéficier un peu des résultats des réunions des 3 commissions. On va en parler tout à l'heure, qu'on va bâtir 3 commissions pour vous permettre de vous prononcer beaucoup plus en détail sur vos visions, vos meilleures pratiques en matière d'organisation du travail, de conception de l'environnement de travail, mais aussi sur la gestion de l'effectif dans le futur. Ça va être suivi aussi par une conférence mondiale que nous allons organiser en 2024 sur l'avenir du travail douanier et là, ici, vers une transformation du travail en douane qui va faire bénéficier l'ensemble des membres. Ici, encore, en 2024-2025, nous allons rédiger un guide de l'OMD en se basant sur vos propres expériences et vos propres meilleures pratiques sur l'organisation du travail, de la conception de l'environnement de travail et aussi la gestion des effectifs. Et là, ça va se terminer, ça va être un long chemin où on va maintenant s'entraider ensemble à travers des activités de renforcement de capacité et d'assistance technique entre les membres et les membres, parce qu'on va choisir des champions, ceux qui ont réussi un peu leur passage vers les nouveaux modes du travail et aussi de l'OMD vers les membres. Ça, c'est un peu grosso modo pour vous donner une idée sur qu'est-ce qui a été fait avant, qu'est-ce qu'on est en train de faire actuellement et sur quoi on veut aller. Comme ça, ça va vous donner une idée pourquoi avoir un forum et qu'est-ce qu'on attend un peu, quels sont les résultats ou les sorties que nous souhaitons à travers tout ce travail. Je répète ici que là, on doit rédiger un recueil des meilleures pratiques en matière d'organisation du travail, ainsi qu'un guide pour aider tous les membres à s'inscrire sur cette transformation de mode de travail. Je cède maintenant la parole à Monsieur le directeur pour partager avec nous ses remarques d'ouverture.
Thank you, Si Mohamed, and good afternoon, everyone. So, as I was introduced, my name is Tae Kang, Director of the Capacity Building Directorate of the WCO. It's very good to see all of my dear colleagues, including the distinguished Director Generals, Commissioners, Human Capital Management Directors, representatives of partner organizations, and all the other academia, the participants. So again, I'd like to welcome all to the first meeting of the Customs Work Organization Forum, because all my two colleagues already told you a lot of good remarks, so I don't have much to say additionally. But anyway, as you know, for the last 2 or 3 years, because of the pandemic, we were stressed with a lot of hardships and difficulties. Of course, it's not confined to customs community, but also to the many the other parts in the whole society and the countries. But anyway, the customs community they responded in many ways to take care of these difficulties caused by the pandemic. For example, the customs community had to change our working mode to hybrid or flexible virtual working mode because we could not get together. And because of all the hardships and the difficulties, many the customs officers should work at home teleworking. So the managers and leaders had to take care of those the working level officers who are working at home. So there was for the position of the working level officers, they felt some kind of isolation and some feeling of loneliness. So it was stressful for almost everyone to the customs community. So naturally, there was the big change in the working mode. But if we think about it in other way, this pandemic did not cause only difficulties. It also provides some opportunities or benefits in some sense to all of us. Well, because of the pandemic, we had to think about what is the better option for working mode under the pandemic period. So we tried every other options to cope with these kind of difficulties. We introduced some kind of the teleworking and hybrid working, flexible working, all kinds of the options the imaginable were introduced to cope with these difficulties. So maybe many of our the colleagues realized that only the in-person working, the physical attendance is not the best one. Sometimes the online working mode can be a better option. So, for example, think about this conference. I heard that almost 700 participants had registered for this conference. But if we do it in physical mode, the WCO had to invite all 700 participants. Maybe the financial resources would not be possible to invite all those valuable the member officials or guests. So we could save a lot of time and cost by introducing this kind of online working mode and the online symposium mode or conference mode. So there have been obviously many difficulties and hardships, but also we are facing a lot of other opportunities and benefits that we can get in the future. So. Thinking about these the pros and cons that we talked with some members on this topic. The preliminary findings showed that many members returned to the pre-pandemic working mode. Of course, some members are going forward to maintain this kind of hybrid working mode, but many members return to the old mode. So the common thing is that usually the members maintained the contactless and paperless customs clearance measures and the virtual hybrid management of meetings, conferences, and training activities. These these meetings and conferences were maintained in online, but the other the working mode has returned to the pre-pandemic the classical working mode, which means the full presence of the customs officers at the workstations. So the WCO thought about that. Why some members returned to the pre-pandemic working mode, but the other members still maintain their working mode of the hybrid working mode. So to get some intuition and measures, as the C. Mohammed introduced, we organized a conference named the Human Capital Management Global Conference in October of this year on the topic of well-being at work, taking care of our human capital. So from this the conference, we found out that health and wellness programs, sound business continuity plans, and increased the use of digital technologies are very important factors. And we also found out that the inability of using the digital technology and the leadership and communication skills and organization culture and the limitation caused by customs procedure, those factors were the main causes of making the customs community return to the old the pre-pandemic working mode. Of course, as the Simoma said, we also sent some dedicated survey to the member customs and what are the reasons and what are the measures that were taken for the coping with this kind of the difficulties, and why some members returned to the pre-pandemic working mode, and why some other members still keeping the pace of hybrid working. So based on this survey, I think MC Mohammed will give you the survey results based on in his the presentation. And also during the last the capacity building committee in February, and the two policy commissions in June and December also supported the WCO's efforts to collect the members' ideas and make some compendiums in the future. And so in this regard, that I think today's conference is very valuable because this is the place that we can communicate our experiences that we got for the last 2 or 3 years. Then and based on these the experiences, the WCO will make some compendiums, and then which will be very beneficial to redesign your working mode in the future for the whole customs community. Of course, not only for customs community, but also for the academia and other the public sector entities and other the very close the organizations, international organizations. I think this kind of the opportunity and chances will be very beneficial. So I'd like to ask you more active participation in this meeting, and of course for the upcoming events also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director Kang. And we will move now to sub-item C for the election of the facilitator of this meeting. And I will open the floor to those who will be nominating the one who will be facilitating this meeting. Yeah, I can see USCBP Maria Luisa and Hamad Al-Humaydi.
Maria, you are with us as panelist. You can unmute your microphone and camera.
There we go. Good day, colleagues. It's a pleasure to join you for today's forum. The United States is pleased to nominate Mr. Stefan Aniszewski to serve as the facilitator of this group. Stefan has extensive experience working at Finnish Customs, in addition to many years collaborating with us, with the members, as a technical officer and senior technical officer at the WCO. We recognize his positive attitude and the enthusiasm he brings to his work. We're especially excited about the valuable experience he brings from his current role as Director of Human Resources of Finnish Customs. We know Stefan will be a thoughtful and inclusive facilitator for this group over the course of the next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. I know that it's too early there, but thanks for your commitment. Yep, please, Mr. Hamad Al-Humaydi.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Hamad Al-Humaydi. I'm from Zakat and Tax and Custom Authority from Saudi Arabia. I support the nomination of Stefan. Like what's been said, he have a rich history and extensive experience. Started with the Finnish Custom, and also he have an experience in the WCO since 2009 until the end of 2015. And then it's been ended by head of the human resource in the Finnish Custom. So I'm supporting that as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hamad. I can't see any other raised hand. And I will move now the floor to Mr. Stefan Aniszewski from Finland Customs, if he would like to accept to facilitate this meeting. Please, over to you, Mr. Stefan Aniszewski. Okay.
Thank you. see Mohammed, and let me wish you all a very good afternoon from Finland. It would indeed be a great honor to have the chance to serve as the facilitator of the forum. And I would like to thank the United States and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the nomination and support. I'm very happy to accept the facilitator's role, and I will promise to do my utmost best to enable successful forum sessions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefan. And now we will disappear and we will leave the floor to you to manage this meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, C. Mohammed, for handing the floor back to me. Perhaps just before moving on with the forum agenda, let me just briefly introduce myself and also say a few words about the today's forum session and my thoughts in relation to it. So as was mentioned, I'm a career customs professional. I first joined the Finnish Customs back in 2002, and since then I've done several different roles, ranging from being a frontline customs interdiction officer, now being the director of our human resource services. I also had the chance, as was mentioned, to work at the WCO Secretariat and did a stint of 7.5 years with the Secretariat and at its Compliance and Facilitation Directorate as a technical officer and then later as a senior technical officer. And I'm a lawyer and an economist by education. Well, a few words about the forum session today. Director Kang and C. Mohammed already very eloquently outlined the broader framework of the WCO efforts to which this forum connects and contributes. So nothing really to add in that regard. Perhaps just to say that the redesign of work has indeed gained plenty of interest recently, and I'm extremely glad personally to see that the question of work and its organization in the future has now been so actively taken up by the WCO. As we're sort of resuming normal operations and moving on from the pandemics, there are still several questions in relation to work setup, workplace design, and workforce management practices in the so-called new normal that still need to be resolved, and that probably challenges equally all over the world. So I think that it is indeed in this context that the Customs Work Organization Forum that we're launching here today is actually a very beneficial and timely initiative. The forum will provide us with a great opportunity to exchange.
Stefan, are you still with us? We just lost your video and your audio. Stefan, can you hear us? If you can, please click on the camera icon to open your camera. This might be a browser related issue, as you told me you were not able to install the Zoom application. You might want to try another browser. Oh, you're reconnecting. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you again. There was something that crashed in the system. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we do. Can I ask you to lower a little bit the boom, your microphone boom? It's very sensitive.
Okay, I'll try to.
If you lower it a bit, not straight in front of your mouth, that should resolve the popping sounds.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Is this better now?
Yes, it is.
Wonderful. So right before the system breakdown, I was just telling that I personally believe that the Customs Work Organization Forum that we're launching here today is a very beneficial and timely initiative. And the forum will provide us with a great opportunity to exchange views and good practices, but it will also allow us to share some of the challenges and the lessons learned in relation to the individual approaches that we all are applying when we're sort of moving away from the short-term continuity and contingency working models that we saw during the pandemics, and are sort of moving towards the working models of the future in the new normal and beyond. And it is on this note that I'm extremely glad to see that there are so many participants to the forum who also represent a very wide array of different functions and perspectives. I believe that this is a very good setup and a good starting point for successful discussions this afternoon and then beyond during the later forum sessions. And I would like to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules at the end of the year and making it available to the forum. And not only to the forum and for the discussions that we're going to have here today, but also to supporting the WCO Secretariat in its tasks to produce these instruments that C. Mohammed was referring to in his opening remarks. So I'm very much looking forward to having this chance to work with all of you, and would like to wish you all welcome also on my behalf to this session. And I think that with these introductory remarks, we can then move on to the adoption of the forum agenda. The draft agenda of the forum is presented in document HC0001. And the draft agenda has been sent to all participants to the forum together with the forum invitation letter on the 27th of October of this year. The draft agenda has also been published in the events website of the WCO and is available there in 2 languages, English and French. I believe that all of you surely have studied the draft agenda, and I don't think that there is a need for me to run through it in any greater detail. At this stage, I would like to open the floor and ask if anyone has any suggestions, changes, or additional topics that they would like to add to the agenda, or whether we can adopt the agenda as proposed. So the floor is now open for comments by the participants. Well, I don't see any requests for the floor, which allows me to conclude that the forum agenda is adopted as presented in document HC0001. So with that, we will now move to the second agenda item of the forum, which addresses the terms of reference for the WCO Customs Work Organization Forum. Under this agenda item, the forum participants are invited to share their comments, inputs, and suggestions to the draft terms of reference of the Customs Work Organization Forum. The terms of reference have also been circulated to all participants prior to the meeting and can be found on the events webpage of the WCO. They can be found there in 2 languages, in English and French. The terms of reference include 5 different sections to them. The first section highlights the purpose and the establishment of the Customs Work Organization Forum. The second section talks about the roles and responsibilities, as well as outlines the type of work that is expected from this forum. There is a section for the structure and composition of the forum, and also a section which talks about the meeting and reporting modalities for the Customs Work Organization Forum. And the last section of the terms of reference sort of underlines and highlights the clause on the review of the forum terms of reference, which the members may wish to activate if necessary. The clause basically states that the terms of reference can be changed according to the needs of the forum. So this agenda item has been marked for noting, discussion, and decision. And in this context, I would like to hear the participants' thoughts on the draft terms of reference and receive your guidance on whether we can accept the proposed draft terms of reference to guide the work of the forum. So unless the Secretariat colleagues would like to further elaborate the content of the terms of reference, I will open the floor for discussion and comments. But at this stage, let me ask you, C. Mohammed, if you would like to elaborate more on any of the sections of the terms of reference that I highlighted in the introduction.
Thank you very much, Stefan. I believe that you did it very well. It's not that much complicated. We are given what is the purpose and the establishment of this customs work organization forum, why it exists, and it will serve as a platform to discuss the latest trend and practice regarding work organization and make recommendation for their wider application by the customs community. What is important, it's not only dedicated to customs administration. We are putting together on the table all the actors that can be, because this is something that it's all of us are interested to contribute, and I think here we are giving the opportunity to all the actors, customs administration, private sector, international organization, academia, civil society, to bring their ideas, to bring their vision, what should be the future of customs, and I think here this is a very good opportunity. Here I have to highlight that we will have two outcomes of this Customs Work Organization Forum, which will be the compendium on best practices related to work setup, workforce management, and workplace design. But also another outcome, and for us this is the very, very important, to make sure that we can ensure a wider application by the international customs community. It's the guide on how now we can implement a successful, agile, and hybrid or flexible customs administration that will be serving in an effective way all the stakeholders. I think here this is really something that we have to highlight, and we need all the contribution from all the actors. Now, with regard to what is related to how the frequency and the meeting report, I have to remind all colleagues that we will be having another 2 meetings like that one in May and the other one in October. It will be also held virtually, except if we have another guidance. And also we will be sharing with you the report, all the documents, the presentation, everything will be in the WCO event website. You can download all the documents. And now the facilitator, okay, again, we will be establishing 3 commissions. One commissions will be in charge of work setup, the other one workplace design, and the third one will be on workforce management. And that's what we will allow all the actors to have a platform to share their views using our Click platform. They're also sending us their recommendation and also their vision and best practices. And this meeting will be only established for 1 year, except if we will have another need that can be mentioned by member to extend for another 1 year. That's what I would like to share with all. I hope that it's clear. And now over to you, Stefan.
Thank you very much, C. Mohammed, for the very thorough explanation. At this stage, I'd like to seek your views, the views of the participants on the content of the terms of reference, and the floor is open for comments, questions, and so forth. So, interested parties or participants wishing to make comments, please raise your hand so that we'll be able to pick up your willingness to speak, and then I will allocate the floor to you. Yes, Mr. Greg Bilkington from DHL.
DHL, you are now a panelist. You can unmute your microphone and camera.
I think this is working. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. We cannot see you yet.
Let's see.
Click on the camera icon at the bottom right, please. Exactly. Thank you.
There we go. Fantastic. Well, first off, congratulations. We've got a good facilitator to start us off with on the way of working. Very pleased to see that nomination of Mr. Aniszewski. And let me just say on behalf of my colleagues at DHL Express, we're excited about the opportunity to talk about the way we work and the way we work together, especially from the private sector, and the way that we can use the efforts through digitalization that I know that the WCO has focused heavily on, along with its member organizations. And just like other in the express industry, we are heavily focused on digitalization and how we can improve our efficiency and effectiveness. So looking forward to the outcomes of this committee. Thanks for the ability to participate.
Thank you, Mr. Pilkington, and thanks for your kind remarks there. It's great to have you on board. I don't see any other interventions or requests for the floor. So on this note, as facilitators' conclusions, I would like to conclude that the forum discussed the terms of reference and decided to adopt the terms of reference as proposed. Excellent. So now we'll move on to the third agenda item of today's session, which focuses on the WCO survey on working models and trends in customs administrations. As part of the agenda item, the WCO Secretariat will share information on the main results and findings of the online survey that was conducted by the WCO Secretariat to collect members' practices, challenges, and lessons learned in their transformation to the new working models. The online survey questionnaire was made available to members on the 27th of October, and the deadline for the responses was the 18th of November. There was great interest towards the survey, and altogether 160 valid responses were received to it. And having worked in the past on several different WCO questionnaires, I believe this must be one of the best response rates ever, and probably says something about the interest around the topic of future working models. So without further ado, C. Mohammed from the WCO Secretariat will now take us through the main findings and results of the survey. So C. Mohammed, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Effectivement, il s'agit vraiment d'une première où on a pu avoir un tel nombre de réponses, et je saisis cette opportunité pour remercier infiniment tous les membres qui ont pris le temps et qui ont répondu favorable à cette invitation. Ça détermine, comme vous l'avez bien dit, Stéphane, l'intérêt que nos membres portent à cette question. Et là, je me réjouis d'entendre aussi que le secteur privé à travers DHL aussi porte cet intérêt à cette question. Et honnêtement, nous souhaitons que tout le monde, ensemble, on investit pour repenser et réimaginer le futur de la douane. Sans plus tarder, je vais un peu expliquer pourquoi cette étude, pourquoi ça a été fait et quels sont ses objectifs, quelle est la méthodologie que nous avons préconisée pour réaliser cette étude. Et là, vous allez voir que là, il s'agit d'une recherche qui a été basée sur une triangulation. On ne s'est pas un peu attardé que seulement sur un seul outil de collecte de données, mais on s'est attardé sur 3 outils. Et aussi, quels sont les résultats et quelles sont les conclusions principales, ce qui est le plus important, qui va guider un peu le travail de ce forum, mais aussi pour nos futures collaborations et travail sur cette thématique. Alors, pourquoi cette étude? D'abord, c'est pour collecter des données s'agissant, comme je l'ai dit, d'un chemin d'apprentissage où il y a un ensemble de choses qui se sont passées à la fois durant le Covid, dans certains cas avant même le Covid, mais aussi on voulait savoir qu'est-ce qui s'est passé après le Covid. Comme le directeur l'a bien signalé, il y a eu un retour vers l'ancienne normalité ou l'ancienne façon de faire. Alors on aimerait savoir qu'est-ce qui s'est passé. On aimerait aussi collecter un peu des informations et des idées sur qu'est-ce qui a été mis en œuvre par nos membres durant après le Covid. Également, recueillir les bonnes pratiques. Alors, comme je l'ai dit, il y a certaines administrations qui ont essayé d'adopter et de penser en dehors de la boîte, d'apporter de nouvelles idées. Alors, on aimerait savoir qu'est-ce qui a été les meilleures pratiques, ainsi que les enseignements et les leçons apprises à travers cette mise en œuvre. Et finalement, l'objectif final de cette étude, c'est de concevoir une stratégie de transformation de travail qui soit globale et holistique et sur mesure, qui est basée sur des données factuelles. Sachez que ce n'est pas une affaire de dire qu'on va être hybride ou flexible ou totalement virtuel, mais c'est au-delà de ça, de repenser complètement la façon avec laquelle on fait tout le travail opérationnel, mais aussi tout le travail support au niveau des administrations des douanes. Alors, la méthodologie, ici, là, on a essayé de voir et là faire une revue de littérature pour comprendre un peu qu'est-ce qui a été, de voir un peu qu'est-ce qui a été rédigé, à la fois par les consultants, par ce qui a été rédigé au niveau de l'OMD, ce qui a été fait par les universités, et de collecter un peu qu'est-ce qui est l'état de l'art en matière d'organisation de travail après le Covid. Il y a eu aussi l'élaboration d'un questionnaire qui a été soumis à l'ensemble des membres de manière virtuelle et on a donné 3 semaines pour permettre à l'ensemble de nos membres d'y participer. Et d'ailleurs, le résultat que je vais montrer tout à l'heure, ça détermine un peu l'intérêt porté à cette question. Le questionnaire porte sur 18 questions, mais vous allez voir que toutes les questions sont interreliées de telle sorte de savoir qu'est-ce qui pourrait être le futur et les priorités sur lesquelles on doit travailler ensemble pour réimaginer et repenser le travail en douane. Et on a pu compléter ça à travers des entretiens semi-structurés à travers, au niveau des 6 régions de l'OMD, mais aussi avec un ensemble d'experts, de consultants et aussi de fonctionnaires d'organisations internationales pour un peu compléter l'étude et aussi comprendre certaines réponses qu'on a pu avoir au niveau du questionnaire. Alors, les résultats, on a essayé un peu de les regrouper sous forme de thématiques. D'ailleurs, alors s'il vous plaît, tous les PowerPoints, tous les documents de cette réunion, ils seront mis sur le site web de l'événement. Alors, vous pouvez avoir accès à tous ces documents. Alors, comme Stéphane l'a bien souligné, on a eu un grand nombre de réponses valides et qui remontent à un niveau de 160 membres, soit 87% des membres de l'OMD qui ont répondu à ce questionnaire, ce qui détermine un peu la validité des réponses et qui nous permettra un peu de baser un peu le futur de travail sur la base de ces résultats. Alors, par rapport un peu aux mesures post-pandémiques en matière de conception de travail, ce qui a été un peu rappelé par les répondants, c'est seulement 37% des répondants des administrations des douanes qui ont pu adopter des nouveaux modèles de travail, qui sont de plus en plus un modèle mixte ou hybride à 90% et seulement 10% qui ont adopté un modèle flexible. Sachez que quand je parle ici de hybride et flexible, ça pourrait être dans la même administration et ils ont adopté pour certains types de travail un travail flexible, pour d'autres un travail qui est hybride. Alors que 63% des répondants ont informé, ont déclaré qu'ils sont revenus à l'ancienne normalité, c'est-à-dire à 100% présentiel. Aussi, les domaines qui ont été affectés ou concernés par ces nouveaux modes de travail, je rappelle ici qu'on voit que le diagramme nous montre que les 3 les 3 aires de travail ou domaines de travail au niveau de la douane, à savoir les postes de management, les postes de support et les postes opérationnels ont été affectés avec une légère augmentation au niveau des fonctions d'appui. Ceci nous donne déjà une idée sur quels sont les domaines sur lesquels on peut envisager dans le futur à ce qu'il y aura peut-être une réimagination de la nature du travail ou le mode de travail qu'on doit adopter. Alors, nous avons aussi demandé aux membres qui ont répondu, alors là je parle ici des 67%, qu'est-ce qui les a empêchés d'adopter ou de passer à un nouveau mode de travail. Là, comme vous pouvez le voir, ici, il y a eu une liste et là, 29% des membres jugent que la nature du travail, ici, que l'inspection physique, que le contrôle des voyageurs, aussi la conception du travail ou du lieu de travail, ne permet pas à passer à un nouveau mode de travail. D'ailleurs, ça informe sur un ensemble d'éléments. 21% jugent qu'il y a un problème de culture et de leadership, où il y a un manque d'implication de la sphère du top management, mais aussi il y a un problème de culture où on souhaite voir toutes les personnes sur les lieux de travail. Et aussi, il y a un troisième élément, à 19%, ce sont des raisons humaines, où il y a un problème de manque de compétences, ou parfois un problème de résistance au changement, où on veut faire le travail d'une manière ou d'une autre, mais aussi il y a un peu le problème de collaboration qui a été jugée insuffisante par les répondants. Je passe maintenant à un autre. Quelle est l'approche qui a été adoptée maintenant pour développer ou pour mettre en place ces nouveaux modes de travail? Est-ce que les employés ont été consultés? Alors, seulement 25% des membres des répondants qui indiquent que leurs employés ont été consultés, alors que 75 disent que leurs personnels n'ont pas été consultés et que la décision est venue du haut, ce qui nous donne un peu quelques informations tout à l'heure lorsqu'on va parler des conclusions. Les besoins et les attentes des employés, est-ce qu'ils ont été pris en compte lors du choix du nouveau mode de travail? Encore, 70% jugent que la décision vient du haut et qu'on n'a pas pris en compte les besoins et les attentes des employés. Quand je parle ici les besoins, sachez qu'on a différents types ou différentes catégories qui travaillent au niveau de la douane. Et là, le fait de prendre ou d'avoir ou de considérer leurs besoins et leurs attentes, ça pourrait peut-être donner une orientation sur comment on va accepter le nouveau mode de travail qui va être implémenté au niveau de la douane. Nous avons demandé aussi aux administrations quel est le modèle de travail idéal pour réaliser leurs objectifs organisationnels et leurs priorités stratégiques. Alors, 90% des répondants estiment que le modèle de travail le plus efficace et le mieux adapté doit être défini à partir des besoins et des préférences des employés. Ce qui confirme un peu ce qui a été dit en haut au niveau des deux graphes, où là maintenant, il doit y avoir le choix du nouveau mode de travail doit être validé à travers un processus de consultation avec les employés. Alors, par rapport maintenant aux approches qui ont été préconisées pour la révision ou par rapport à la transformation du travail, nous constatons ici, je parle ici seulement pour les administrations ayant répondu qu'ils ont adopté des nouveaux modes de travail. Là, il y a deux approches, ce qui nous informe maintenant sur quelle est la meilleure pratique ou quelle est la meilleure façon pour réussir cette transformation du travail. Alors, la première approche, c'est repenser les procédures de travail pour améliorer l'efficacité des services fournis aux parties prenantes. Mais aussi, il y a le deuxième, réévaluer quels sont les types de tâches qui peuvent être réalisées au bureau ou à distance. Rappelez-vous qu'il y a un des blocages ou des défis qui ont empêché certaines administrations à aller vers le nouveau mode de travail. Il a été à 29% ont jugé que c'est la nature du travail. Ce qui nous informe à ce que maintenant, il doit y avoir un travail de re-engineering ou de repenser la façon avec laquelle on fait la douane et on fait les activités support. Par rapport aux mesures d'accompagnement, alors à la fois au niveau du lieu de travail, nous avons demandé aux répondants est-ce que leurs administrations ont apporté des changements au lieu de travail qui sont alignés avec le nouveau mode de travail. 90% des répondants jugent qu'il n'y a pas eu lieu de modification. On a gardé l'ancienne organisation de l'environnement du travail avec un nouveau mode de travail et seulement 10% précisent avoir effectué des changements. Par rapport à maintenant, est-ce qu'on a outillé le personnel de compétences numériques et comportementales, mais aussi est-ce qu'on a autonomisé les managers pour maintenant gérer des équipes de travail qui ont de type hybride ou maintenant totalement virtuel. On constate que les répondants, entre 70% et 80%, jugent que leurs responsables et leur staff n'ont pas été outillés pour émerger et évoluer dans ce nouveau mode de travail, ce qui indique maintenant qu'il y a lieu de travail à faire pour maintenant déjà repenser les descriptifs de poste et ajouter de nouvelles compétences à la fois numériques, comportementales, mais aussi des compétences de type de managérial dans un monde virtuel ou hybride. Alors, maintenant, on a posé aussi les deux questions, à notre sens, qui sont aussi très, très importantes. Quelle est l'efficacité? Parce que finalement, peut-être on peut avoir dans certaines administrations qui ont encore cette réticence pour adopter un nouveau mode de travail. Ici, l'efficacité à 91% juge que leur nouveau mode de travail est très efficace ou il est extrêmement efficace. Et ça, c'est très, très important, alors que seulement 9% des répondants qui estiment que le nouveau mode de travail n'était pas efficace pour quelques raisons. Là, ça, ce qui a été déterminé, c'est que à travers les entrevues, on a essayé de comprendre le pourquoi de ces 9%. Et là, la décision, c'est qu'il n'y a pas eu de consultation et de concertation avec toutes les parties prenantes, y compris le secteur privé. Par rapport à l'efficacité de la technologie, alors 43% des répondants estiment que la technologie est très efficace ou extrêmement efficace. Ici, alors, là, on a essayé de comprendre le pourquoi de ce taux. Alors, ce qui a été dit par tous les interviewés, c'est que l'ensemble des interviewés sont unanimes sur l'importance de la technologie comme étant un outil pour faciliter cette transition vers les nouveaux modes de travail, mais c'est l'approche à comment on adopte la technologie qui a été un petit peu critiquée. D'ailleurs, ça nous démontre un peu de comment on va aller de l'avant, de comment on va aligner la technologie avec l'ensemble des personnes, des processus et de la stratégie. On va le voir. D'ailleurs, tout à l'heure, le collègue de DHL, il a encore rappelé l'importance de la technologie. Ça se confirme ici que c'est extrêmement important, sauf que là, il faut savoir maintenant quelle stratégie digitale qu'on doit adopter pour mieux réussir cette transformation du travail. Par rapport aux avantages, alors ça aussi, ça peut, pour ceux et celles qui sont un peu rébarbatifs, à aller de l'avant, à adopter un nouveau mode de travail. Ici, nous avons pu recueillir quels sont les avantages qui ont été ressentis à ce jour. Alors, sachez qu'on est dans un processus d'expérimentation. Certes, il y aura des erreurs, mais il y aura aussi de l'apprentissage. Ce qui est intéressant ici, c'est que déjà, les avantages qui ont été dénombrés par les membres déterminent c'est très prometteur. Et là, ça a permis de renforcer l'adaptabilité du personnel et la capacité de l'organisation à rester efficace en tout temps. Certes, hier, c'était le Covid, mais demain, on ne sait pas qu'est-ce qui va venir. Alors, développer la résilience de nos employés devient de plus en plus une exigence. On n'a plus le choix maintenant de dire « Ah non, c'est bon, le Covid est parti ». Non, là, on doit préparer à la fois les individus, mais aussi l'organisation à faire face à n'importe quel autre obstacle qui va venir dans le futur. Il contribue à améliorer la satisfaction des parties prenantes, chose qui est très, très importante, c'est que aussi le fait de numériser, là, il y a eu une rapidité dans les processus et tout ça, et là, ça a contribué à l'amélioration de la satisfaction des parties prenantes. Il contribue aussi à l'amélioration de l'expérience employée, chose qui a été démontrée lors de la conférence comme étant un élément très, très important pour toutes les administrations douanières et où maintenant il y a des individus sur lesquels on doit, surtout les plus compétents, on doit les retenir le plus longtemps, sinon ils vont se retrouver à être au service du secteur privé ou à d'autres éléments et où on doit écouter maintenant de plus en plus nos employés. Alors ça, c'est les avantages les plus importants, mais vous voyez que déjà les taux sont toujours le plus bas, c'est à 27 répondants sur 59, c'est à peu près 50% qui ont répondu à ce que ça a permis aussi à contribuer au rendement des employés. Sauf que là, quand on a fait les entrevues, les gens ont dit que c'est un peu très hâtif de décider maintenant sur le rendement. Les défis. Alors, quels sont maintenant, on a demandé aux gens, quels sont les défis du nouveau mode de travail? Et ça, à notre avis, il est très important à noter ici. Il y a un élément important qui ressort, c'est une perception de manque de confiance. Et à notre avis, ici, ça, c'est très important. Alors, quand je parle ici de perception, c'est-à-dire il n'y a rien encore de concret, mais ils perçoivent à ce que les managers... Alors ici, je parle de confiance à deux niveaux. La confiance à l'intérieur de la douane entre le personnel et les managers, et vice-versa, mais aussi entre la douane et le secteur privé. Nous avons constaté, les réponses ici, surtout des entrevues, ont démontré que alors, les managers, lorsqu'ils perdent le contrôle sur leurs employés, lorsqu'ils travaillent à la maison, souvent il y a cette perception que les employés ne font pas leur travail. Et ça a été ressenti beaucoup lors de la Covid-19. Mais également, le personnel, il s'est senti abandonné sans aucun encadrement de leur manager lorsqu'ils ont travaillé au niveau virtuel. Rappelez-vous un peu le slide avant, on a parlé que les managers n'ont pas été outillés avec des compétences managériales dans un contexte virtuel ou hybride. Également, il y a une collaboration moins soutenue, des problèmes de communication et d'autres au niveau de gestion du rendement. Là, ça rejoint un peu le diagramme avant, où il y a eu un peu le sentiment d'être isolé et il y a eu moins de communication entre les employés, entre les équipes de travail. La politique de l'emploi et les pratiques en matière de gestion de ressources humaines, là d'ailleurs, on en a parlé tout à l'heure, où il y a lieu maintenant de revoir toutes les pratiques de la gestion des employés ou la gestion des ressources humaines et finalement un degré de bien-être inférieur ressenti par les membres du personnel, notamment à l'isolement et au burn-out. D'ailleurs, le directeur l'a rappelé tout à l'heure. Et lors de la conférence aussi, on a constaté qu'il y a eu un élément important où il y a une augmentation de stress. Il y a eu parfois même dans certaines administrations, il y a eu des tentatives de suicide à cause de la surcharge du travail parce qu'on ne fait pas le lien. Le lien ne devient plus étanche entre la partie travail et la partie personnelle. Et ça a augmenté un peu le niveau de stress et le sentiment d'épuisement professionnel au niveau de beaucoup d'employés. Alors, les leçons apprises, chose qui est très importante à notre sens ici, la confiance est une valeur précieuse dans les relations à la fois commerciales, c'est-à-dire entre la douane et le secteur privé, mais aussi la confiance au niveau des relations de travail. Et là, la confiance, ça s'acquiert et ça se bâtit. Alors là, il y a lieu maintenant, ça guide un peu le travail sur lequel on doit travailler. La technologie comme élément critique ou facteur critique pour soutenir la stratégie de transformation de travail, ça c'est très important. En matière de leadership et de gestion de culture, il faut aller vers un nouvel état d'esprit. Ce qui est très important, et là, comme j'ai dit tout à l'heure, c'est au-delà de dire qu'on va être hybride ou flexible ou virtuel, mais c'est qu'il faut maintenant ancrer cette nouvelle façon de faire dans les états d'esprit et avoir un nouveau paradigme qui doit s'instaurer, une nouvelle culture, de nouvelles valeurs qui doivent s'instaurer au niveau de nos organisations. Les processus doivent être revus et réinventés, comme on l'a dit tout à l'heure. C'est que maintenant, les processus de travail doivent être maintenant repensés. Et d'ailleurs, la raison pour laquelle on a maintenant au niveau de ce forum toutes les parties prenantes pour y penser ensemble et réfléchir ensemble pour trouver qu'est-ce qui pourrait être la meilleure façon de faire le travail douanier, mais aussi le travail support. Il y a aussi la gestion des effectifs ou la gestion des ressources humaines et la conception de l'environnement de travail qui doivent prendre en compte les besoins et les préférences à la fois du personnel, mais aussi du secteur privé. Là, ça doit être à travers un processus de consultation et non pas une décision qui doit descendre du haut pour imposer aux gens que toi, tu vas travailler de cette manière ou de cette manière. Ça, c'est un peu les leçons qui ont été, on a essayé un peu de résumer qu'est-ce qui a été dit par les 59 répondants qui ont un peu migré vers une nouvelle façon de faire. Maintenant, parlons de l'avenir. La question a été posée un peu, qu'est-ce qui pourrait être les motivations des initiatives sur l'avenir du travail ? Et ça aussi, c'est très, très important. Là, on voit le souci maintenant des répondants, c'est que maintenant, les 4 au podium, alors réduire les coûts d'exploitation et protéger l'environnement, je crois qu'avec les taux d'inflation qui ont augmenté jusqu'à 4 fois dans certains pays, on voit maintenant que beaucoup d'administrations doivent travailler avec peut-être les mêmes budgets qu'il y a 5 ans, mais avec énormément de demandes et avec le taux d'inflation, on trouve que là, il y a un déficit important. Si les administrations ne doivent pas repenser leur façon de faire et pour réduire leurs coûts d'exploitation, ils vont se retrouver maintenant avec des déficits. D'ailleurs, aussi, la question de protéger l'environnement est très, très significative, surtout dans certaines administrations. Améliorer la satisfaction des parties prenantes, qui est aussi très, très important, et améliorer l'expérience client, qui devient maintenant une priorité, et où maintenant il faut consulter l'ensemble de ces parties prenantes pour repenser le travail douanier. Réinventer les pratiques en matière de gestion du capital humain, ça revient, parce que là, on doit accompagner toutes ces nouvelles mesures avec des pratiques et des processus de gestion en ressources humaines qui sont alignés et finalement définir la culture dans l'avenir du travail. Chose qui est très, très importante, c'est que maintenant, on ne doit plus s'amuser, on doit dire que peut-être il n'y aura plus de crise qui va taper au niveau des douanes. Sachez que maintenant, on n'a pas le choix que de s'inscrire dans une nouvelle façon de faire la douane pour être de plus en plus agile et résilient. Dernier slide, ici, c'est par rapport un peu aux conclusions principales, aux conclusions générales. Qu'est-ce qui a été ressorti de cette étude? Alors, premièrement, l'importance de bâtir avec le secteur privé et au sein des administrations douanières, notamment les personnels et responsables, d'un écosystème basé sur la confiance. À mon avis, ça va guider un peu le travail sur lequel on va travailler. Comment maintenant on doit bâtir? Quelle est la meilleure façon de bâtir cette relation de confiance qui doit s'instaurer? Comme j'ai dit, la confiance, oui, ça se bâtisse, mais aussi ça s'acquiert. La nécessité de réimaginer et de repenser l'organisation du travail, les processus douaniers et les opérations quotidiennes pour les adapter au nouveau modèle de travail. On l'a dit, on ne cessera pas de le dire, que maintenant il y a lieu de repenser la façon avec laquelle on fait le travail douanier, notamment le dédouanement des marchandises, le contrôle des voyageurs, contrôle a posteriori. En fait, tout ce qui est procédure de dédouanement, il doit être repensé pour que ça soit aligné au nouveau mode de travail. Notamment ici, la technologie et les données seront un des éléments ou des facteurs critiques pour les utiliser de la manière la plus appropriée. L'importance d'opérer des changements dans la conception de l'environnement de travail. Oui, certes, on va aller de l'avant maintenant avec de nouveaux modes de travail, mais aussi il faut que l'environnement ou les lieux de travail doivent être alignés sur cette nouvelle façon de faire, mais que ça soit aligné sur les attentes et les exigences et les besoins aussi des employés, mais aussi des parties prenantes. Le besoin de doter les leaders. Sachez que maintenant, on évolue dans un nouveau contexte de travail qui va nécessiter de nouvelles compétences, à la fois numériques, comportementales, mais aussi managériales, de la part de nos managers pour pouvoir gérer de la manière la plus appropriée le personnel, qui va être maintenant hybride au 100% virtuel. L'importance par le biais d'une approche stratégique. Je rappelle ici que c'est au-delà de dire qu'on va être hybride ou flexible. Là, maintenant, il faut inscrire cette transformation du travail dans une approche stratégique qui est alignée sur, maintenant, l'objectif, c'est sur la stratégie organisationnelle. L'importance maintenant de consulter le personnel ainsi que les parties prenantes pour maintenant aligner leurs attentes dans le nouveau mode de travail. C'est extrêmement important pour mieux s'assurer que les nouveaux modes de travail répondent aux attentes et aux besoins de ces deux catégories, à la fois le personnel, mais aussi les parties prenantes. Et finalement, l'importance de mettre en œuvre une stratégie, je rappelle, j'ai déjà parlé tout à l'heure, où j'ai dit que là, il faut s'assurer que la stratégie de transformation digitale doit être alignée sur la stratégie de transformation du travail. Et il faut que, je rappelle ici ce qui a été dit ici dans les verbatim, c'est que la technologie est un catalyseur essentiel pour appuyer la transformation du travail. Il faut adapter la technologie aux personnes, au processus et à la stratégie, et non pas l'inverse. C'est à la technologie de s'adapter aux personnes, au processus et à la stratégie. Je vous remercie de votre attention et je retourne la parole à Stéphane. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, C. Mohammed. A very good and thorough presentation. We, for sure, did participate in the survey, and we thought that it was a very good questionnaire and followed a good and thorough approach, and also delivered some very, very interesting results. So let me also thank all the participants that responded to the questionnaire. And one thing that that also was highlighted in your presentation, which was a very positive thing, at least to me, was the fact that so many different participants to the survey were willing to share their case studies to be published in the compendium. And this obviously will provide us with a good way forward when trying to put together those instruments that you see Mohammed mentioned in the opening remarks and the slide that described the way forward with the work that we're doing here. So we have few minutes, and I would like to open the floor for comments. If you don't wish to make any oral comments, then please use the chat box for your comments and questions. Our secretariat colleagues are paying attention to the chat box, and you can also receive answers through the chat. But now, if there would be any interested participants who would like to comment the survey results, we still have time for a couple of interventions. So the floor is yours. Please raise your hand according to the standard operating procedure that we have, and the floor will then be allocated to you. Excellent. Brazil, please.
Brazil, please acknowledge the message on screen to reload the full Zoom interface. Thank you. Brazil, you can now unmute your microphone and camera at the bottom left by clicking on those two icons. Brazil, unfortunately, there is a misconfiguration of your microphone. We cannot hear you. To resolve the issue, you need at the bottom left next to the microphone icon to click on the arrow pointing up. A list will appear, and on the top section of that list you need to select an available microphone and say something to us. No, this is not a working one. We will have to repeat the action. So at the bottom left next to the microphone icon, click on the arrow pointing up. At the top section of that list, no, this is not a working one. We will have to repeat the action or invite Brazil to the message board, to the chat.
Okay, we asked Brazil to write their comments in the chat box. Thank you very much. Are there any other participants who would like to make an intervention? I don't see any hands up at this stage. So with this, let me thank the Secretariat and C. Mohammed for the excellent work with the survey, and as mentioned already, it will provide us with a good foundation for the compendium and guide related work that the forum is also going to support in the future. So as the facilitator's conclusions, I would like the Secretariat to capture the following. So under this agenda item, the forum took note of the results of the WCO survey on working models and trends in customs administrations. And I would like to also remind that these survey results will be presented to the Capacity Building Committee next February. So there will be another opportunity there to receive additional information on the results, as well as have a chance to discuss and comment the outcomes. With this, let us now move to the fourth item on the agenda, which is the plenary session. Under this agenda item, the forum participants will have the opportunity to further elaborate and share their visions on the future of work in customs. The plenary session focuses on participants' interventions, in which they are invited to focus on the evolution of customs work organization in order to determine those elements that still need to be strengthened, developed, and or modified in the future. We're also asking the participants and encouraging them to share ideas on how to reimagine customs traditional work arrangements, workplace organization, and workforce management for the future. And I would like to remind the participants that in relation to the management of the session, all those participants who wish to speak must once again request the floor by raising their hand. Once the hand is up, the request will then go to the speaking list, from which we will then be able to allocate the floor to those interested in sharing their experiences. Time-wise, we have around 70 minutes for this part of the agenda. And in order to enable as many participants to speak as possible, we would like to ask each intervention to be limited to no longer than 5 to 6 minutes. And I kindly ask the speakers to honor the time limits allocated to individual interventions. If there will be some time at the end of the session, we will open the floor for a question and answer session. But we're also encouraging, as during the previous agenda item, participants to send their comments and questions to the chat box where they will be recorded. If there will be more interventions that we can accommodate within the limits of the time that we have for this session, I would also like to remind you all that we will have 2 additional forum sessions in the future in 2023. And those sessions will also provide an opportunity for sharing views and case studies if they cannot be accommodated as part of today's session. And with this, I would now like to open the floor to participants' interventions. And I do already see several hands up. So let me just look at the list and record them from there. Professor Hans Michael Wolfgang from the University of Münster. The floor is yours.
Professor Wolfgang, you are now a panelist. You can unmute your microphone and camera by clicking on those 2 icons at the bottom left.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and all the others involved in this excellent workshop and forum. And thank you very much as well that I have the chance to give some observations from my view from the university side, maybe regarding the working in the new normal, maybe a little bit more with a systematic approach, because from the academian side, I'm not working in the customs operational field, so more that view, please. I'm coming with a background view from the different functions of customs we can see worldwide for many, many years. We have the revenue collection, as all of you know. We have the protection of domestic economy, protection of safety and security of the citizens and the states, but also we have the trade facilitation function to take into account. And I think we have, so to speak, two different views which are relevant for the question of the new normal working area as well. So we have the administration or governmental view, and we have on the other side the more view from the economic operators or the customers of customs, so to speak. And I think the aim should be for the new normal workplace that the right balance between, on the one side, control and supervision, on the other side, trade facilitation is taken into account. And that is, from my perspective, maybe the most important guide for working on a guidance document or something like that, coming from the consequences which we can see from the future of customs as we can see today. Of course, it's not sure that it will happen as we can see it today and we can foresee it. But I'm sure that we will have in future, in general, in administration and in the relation between customs and the trade and the economic operators, we will have more use of new technologies. That was mentioned already several times today as well. And that means, from my perspective, we will have more data, collection of data, we will have more risk analysis, and we will see, insofar, less physical control. So that will have an impact, I think, for a personnel at the border force, for example, with more intelligent systems of border control and of border supervision. I think there is a change in the working place design as well. And insofar, we have as well, I think, more intangible controls via scanning, via maybe drones, or with the artificial intelligence. And that means, from my perspective, that on the other side, we will also have the more development or more developed trusted trader programs worldwide, because this is, I think, based on the SAFE program of WCO, one of the directions which are very, very important as well. And that, for the conclusion of my intervention, it is we will have more demanding working places in the customs area, in the customs administrations, with better equipped IT systems, I think. And those, I see IT systems, they allow as well that we will have, and we will see hybrid working places or more remote work. That's possible, and where it is necessary, I think it should be installed as well. But as what was mentioned and was found out in the session before, when we saw the outcome of the questionnaire, the leadership will be more demanding, and the system, the ecosystem, what was mentioned of trust, I think, is a very important one. How it can be achieved is a different question, which can be discussed maybe as well. But that means as well that we have to have more well-educated personnel, insofar, and more motivated personnel in customs administrations, where the employees accepted as have a value, so to speak, in the administration, and will have the chance then on a basis of motivation to work harder and maybe more efficient, and that leads at the end to a better customs administration in general. Thank you very much for the chance to give this intervention.
Thank you, Professor Wolfgang, and thank you for the excellent points that you make. You are right on the money when you mentioned the role of technology and that assisting and allowing us to sort of move more to this hybrid type of environment. And what we've seen already in Finland is that it's also allowed us to start deploying these modular type of work arrangements where actually a person or a customs officer used to do his work for only one division of the organization. Now do this and then through these hybrid working models will actually be able to accept and assume different types of modules, and he might now be doing work for 3 or 4 different directorates, which has increased the efficiency and the benefits from the skill sets that individual may have, and not only have those skill sets serving the immediate function, but in a more broader manner the whole organization. So very good points. Thank you very much. Next on my list, I have Dr. Sabine Schorer from the German Central Customs Authority. The floor is yours, Doctor.
Dear Sabine, you can now unmute your microphone and camera at the bottom left.
So, yes, hello. Thank you for passing the floor to me. Good afternoon from Germany too. My name is Sabine Schorer and I'm working for the German Central Customs Authority. The German Customs Administration has undertaken to learn from the challenges in the last few years and has adapted its work setup, workforce management, and workplace design. To start with the work setup, the German Customs Administration has already introduced remote working many years ago. This was tied to fixed days and conditions that employees had to stick to on a regular basis. However, the pandemic has shown that flexible work without fixed days and conditions thrives. Experience to date shows that flexible work has not reduced either the quality or quantity of tasks. So for a few months now, no special requirements are needed for flexible work. The supervisors arrange the flexible work individually and flexibly with the employees. Every employee can participate in flexible work. Because responsibility of individual employees significantly increased, employees must ensure that they can be reached by phone or mail within the working hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. If necessary or desired, fixed remote work is still possible. Workforce management became in fact more complicated. We'll have a look at 3 different topics. First, by procuring the appropriate IT equipment and providing IT processes, the employees were put in the technical position to carry out their tasks outside of the provided workplaces. However, not every activity is suitable for flexible work. For example, employees in work areas where they carry out on-the-spot or physical inspections cannot work remotely. So secondly, the German Customs Administration is about to review all kinds of activities in the workplace to come to a uniform framework of which activities can be performed outside of the office. As a third point, distance management will play an increasingly important role in the future. Supervisors must react constructively to the challenges of virtual collaboration and remote leadership in the future. Therefore, targeted offers are necessary, especially in the form of training courses, coaching, and opportunities for exchange of experience. Regarding the workplace design, there were only some changes in form of IT equipment until now. All employees are now equipped individually with secured notebooks. In the future, no more desktop PC will be used. Right now, there's a new building under construction for the German Central Customs Authority, which has already been adapted to the new work setup. The employees won't have a fixed individual office. There will be a room booking system where the employees can book a workspace in advance. This will reduce the amount of office rooms needed. Additionally, there will be more spaces to come together, like workshop areas, meeting rooms, and social places. This office model will be tested and adapted to other German customs offices in the future if suitable. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schorer, for your excellent comments. I was making few notes, and I do myself acknowledge the workplace design types of issues that you mentioned, both in relation to technology, but also in relation to the office spaces of the future. And we for sure have had to go through a lot of pain, as our overbooking percentage at the moment in Finnish Customs is about 1.5. So we have 1.5 employees for each workstation, and the sort of the gross square meter per employee has now been reduced from 12 to 8, which has led to a saving of 4 million euros per year, but has caused a lot of agony for the workers, who obviously are very keen on their own workplaces, but we're going exactly the same direction as you are, so that we don't have these nominated desks anymore, but we have a booking system where then employees book their places for the day and secure their working slot through those types of means. But thank you once again very much for your intervention. Next, I have on my list Miss Leah Campbell from the Canadian Border Services Agencies. Ms. Campbell, the floor is yours.
Ms. Campbell, you're promoted as a panelist. And you're now a panelist. You will be able to unmute yourself at the bottom left by clicking on two icons.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. So good morning, everyone from Canada. My name is Leah Campbell. I am the Director General of our Workforce Planning Directorate here at Canada Border Services Agency. So I'm pleased to share with you a bit about CBSA's vision for its future of work. I had the pleasure of participating as a panelist at a previous session in October in Belgium and sharing a little bit of information with some of you on our hybrid work model. This year in 2022, we did begin implementing our future of work model, which moves our workforce to a hybrid work model with some of our functions working full-time, our operational frontline staff full-time and most of our administrative and back office support working in a hybrid fashion, part-time remote and part-time in the office. So as we continue to implement and think about how we do our work into the future, I can specifically share our vision for our commercial and trade continuum, under which we are pursuing a series of initiatives to move the identification of risk upstream in the life cycle of the import process, thereby reducing the long-term dependency on our primary inspection lines and focusing our efforts on secondary processes such as inspections. There's many initiatives already in flight that include investments in data systems and platforms to better ingest and risk assess against information. We have our CBSA assessment and revenue management project, advanced commercial information and postal modernization, to name a few, as well as some operational deployments such as cargo and courier pre-clearance to help better manage some of our volume pressures. Some of the considerations that we're looking at is the redeployment of our border services officers, who are our frontline operational personnel, and moving them to focus on single courier facilities where parcels, for example, might be assembled for delivery into Canada, which is a much better investment than distributing our workforce into various courier warehouse facilities across Canada where the parcels may arrive. So leveraging the WCO Safe Framework of Standards to efficiently and transparently identify and engage with risk by eliminating lower risk and growing e-commerce shipments from our targeted list of shipments requiring further examination. The BSO of the future, the Border Services Officer of the future in our commercial and trade space, will be one that is better informed and deployed on shipments requiring secondary processes, as opposed to spending their time on the front end doing risk assessment that can be facilitated through data and advanced systems pre-clearance functions. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I look forward to further dialogue on our future work.
Thank you very much, Ms. Campbell. And if there will be an opportunity at the end of the session, I would very much like to ask you a question in relation to the data systems and the data integrity and pushing out information outside the sort of the secure and audited office premises. I know I had the chance to discuss with you during the previous conference, and I think that you guys are doing some amazing work in that regard, and there's definitely plenty of stuff for the rest of us to learn from you. So if there's a chance, I'll ask a further question from you in relation to those issues. Now, next on my list, I have Mr. Eric Kiek from ISO. Eric, please, the floor is yours.
Eric, you have now rejoined. Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stefan. Good afternoon, everybody. Stefan, warm congratulations on your appointment as the convener, as the chair for this forum. You are excellently placed to lead this work. The work of this forum is, I think, both relevant and very timely. It is also connected to an issue that is very close to my heart, and that's, of course, an organization's most valuable asset. It's people. I also want to just very quickly acknowledge the WCO Capacity Building Directorate, my old home, in particular Kyle Kang and Si Mohammed, for the initiative that they have with this forum. We live in a world with constant change. We've got a high level of uncertainty that we're facing at the moment. But at the same time, we also have more opportunities. We also have new tools to deal with some old problems. And going back to the beginning of 2020, most of us would have been very skeptical about working from home, the concept of remote working and conducting many of our activities, business activities, in the virtual world. Fast forward to today, the end of 2020, and Zoom, Teams, and of course the expression "you are muted" have become very much part of our everyday vocabulary. Many organizations, including my own, the Central Secretariat of the International Organization for Standardization here in Geneva, have started looking at the concept of future of work. This is not only about thinking, how do we take some of the pandemic concepts, such as working from home initiatives, and embedding this into our current models. It is an opportunity for all of us to take a step back and to reimagine how we work and our workforce strategies. Please allow me just to share two perspectives with you that will hopefully contribute to some of the discussions of this forum going forward. McKinsey, the global consulting firm, noted that very few organizations had effectively considered the future of work before the pandemic. As organizations are now exploring the future of work, post-COVID-19, it helps to look at future of work strategies and the shifting nature of work as a combination of three symbiotic elements. The first one is work, the second one is the workforce, and the third one is the workplace. So this for me is a useful model, intellectual model, if you will, to look at the work of this forum as well. For the first one, the nature of work, it would be useful for us to be very clear, firstly, about what do we do or what are we expected to do, and secondly, how do we get work done? This, of course, includes concepts of remote working, higher flexibility. These models also impact on our leaders and our managers and how we develop our leaders and our managers. The old management rules of uniformity, bureaucracy, and control will need to be re-examined as well. The second issue, of course, is the workforce. Based on what and how things need to get done in terms of our current, but also our future operating models, we need to ask ourselves, who do we have and who do we need in our workforces? Now, it's been mentioned that digitalization, but also the changing needs and expectations from our stakeholders, primarily business, will impact on our operating models and, of course, our talent strategies. The third element, of course, is workplace. The pandemic has challenged our traditional thinking about what the workplace is, bringing people to work or taking the work to people. And as mentioned by the previous speakers, how do we design our workplaces based on this? The final two connected issues that I want to mention are change and trust. The design and the rollout of any future of work strategy will require significant change management efforts. According to the survey that C. Mohammed took us through a little bit earlier, looking at working models, participants believed in the one question that the biggest challenge to these future of work models will be the absence of trust. So trust is a critical concept, I believe, for the forum to also look at and unpack and better understand and to provide guidance. The survey describes this as the absence of trust at three levels: the absence of trust on the part of our leaders, on the part of our employees, and then also on the part of our stakeholders. One of the more interesting recent models that I've come across on team effectiveness and organizational effectiveness was developed by Patrick Lencioni. In his book, The 5 Dysfunctions, he uses a 5-level pyramid, with each of the 5 levels resting on the foundation provided by the levels below. The ground level foundation, the level on which everything else sits, is trust. The others, just as a matter of interest, are conflict, commitment, accountability, and results. A strong element of trust across organizations also result in increased productivity, enhanced morale, lower staff turnover, and improved ability to handle challenges and take risks. And this is, of course, something that's very important as we've learned from the pandemic. But how do we build trust? According to one report that I came across, is the Edelman Trust Barometer. They mentioned back in 2018 that the #1 action that companies can take to build trust is to treat employees well. And again, this connects with leadership. Leaders need to set the example and the tone and create a culture of answering questions openly, taking responsibility when mistakes happen and learn from them. We can do more, of course, around open communication, engaging in the sharing of ideas and opinions. And this includes what we're discussing here today in the forum, the future of work within our respective organizations. And I think it's the responsibility of leaders to create the space for their staff to have a voice and to help contribute to shaping the future of work strategies. This will, amongst others, help to secure buy-in as well. It would be useful, I believe, for this forum to collect good practices, to share concrete ideas and examples on how to build trust within customs. This topic is a key enabler to future of work strategies, but I believe it's more than just an enabler. I think it's also a goal for many organizations, including customs administrations. Trust on the part of the business community helps to secure voluntary compliance. This is, of course, a goal for many customs administrations, but trust on the part of staff also helps to secure professionalism and integrity to other very important goals that we seek to achieve. The issue of trust emerged as the #1 challenge, as I said, for these new working models, ahead of challenges such as IT, human resource policies. So let's look at this very carefully. The good news is that we can do something about this. Let's work together. Let's learn from each other. Stefan, Chair, with that, I thank you, and I look forward to the rest of the discussions.
As always, Eric, thank you for your excellent intervention. You mentioned several very important issues, or mentioned several very important issues as part of your intervention, and I really like the sort of the framework of the 3 key issues that you mentioned, and that framework really can guide us also with the work that we're doing here and with the compendium. You also raised the issue of trust, and that has certainly been one of the sort of challenges that we've also faced when we moved on to these hybrid and remote working models. But it's funny that we have to actually face this or have had to face this issue, because if you look at for example, the value statement of Finnish customs, trust is one of the values, and if we then want to live up to the sort of values and value-based leadership that we're advocating, trust shouldn't actually be such a big issue in moving towards these new working models, but it still is, and definitely needs to be addressed. So fully agree with you on that. And obviously the last point that you made on change management, that obviously is one of the sort of hot potatoes when it comes to adopting these new working models and providing the leadership with and the managers with the needed support that they will have to have at their disposal in order to be able to lead remote or hybrid work is also critical. So thank you very much for your intervention, Eric. And next on my list, I have Mr. Jaime King, who's the chair of the WCO Private Sector Consultative Group. Mr. King, the floor is yours.
Mr. Jaime King, you are now a panelist and can unmute your microphone and camera by clicking on those 2 little icons at the bottom left.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we do, and we can see you as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. First of all, you see, I want to congratulate, you see, the great work that has been done during the pandemic by the World Customs Organization, but in particularly for the Director of Capacity Building. Congratulations to in your new role, Stefan Aniszewski, for the great work that I'm sure that you will deploy using this new responsibility. And let me just give you a little introduction to who the Private Sector Consultative Group is. This is a group of companies and organizations that at the invitation of the Secretary General of the World Customs Organization join for a certain period of time. And our main role is to advise the WCO and its members on matters of relevance to the private sector. For this, during the pandemic, we played a very active role working with the Secretary General, the Deputy Secretary General, and the directors on many issues related to the pandemic. As such, what we saw from the beginning was that it was a very urgent need to get information. I know that there was a big network of customs around, but the way that the data of what was happening on the ground was moving, it was moving very slowly. Fortunately, we could complement that because of the organizations that had a worldwide reach or regional reach. And many of the other members of the group were in very key positions, so we can provide information of actions to take, and they were passed on to the Secretary General, and in turn that was also shared with the World Trade Organization and with the World Health Organization. So I think this is one of the main takes that I see that was very effective in the coordination in the first period of this pandemic, that I certainly see that the coordination at the international level between these organizations has been very effective to combat, to fight any issues related to not only pandemics, but any other crisis at the international level that can be of relevance to affect the flow of trade around the world. And I think that's one of my main takes that I have, seeing how they work. In the beginning, we were meeting every week. Then we met every 2 weeks. Then we did it monthly. Now you see it's working in a different, under a different scheme now. But at the end, the whole idea is that we are here to try to support customs administrations and the WCO on how we can work better together. The second take that I have is that since the main way that we had to fight the pandemic was social distancing, that meant that we had to stay in isolation, confinement, and there was no other way to communicate but to use the information and communications technology. That was the only way. But what is very important is that the main jump in the use of ICT was not by governments, it was not by the private sector, but it was by society. It was society the ones that made a significant use of it, and probably that will lead to have a new generation in the future of young people that will come very more trained, versed, and prone to adopt these new technologies, which I hope that will be a very big push for the world in the future to become more efficient in terms, you see, of work. After that, you see, I can tell you that also we had the opportunity to understand that we all want to go to a normality now, but we also believe that it doesn't have to be the old normality. And we certainly are looking forward to see what the new normality will be now. And certainly we think that the information and communications technology will play a very intensive role. For this, I know that you see there are other discussions, like you see here, many of my other exponents that you see, the proponents that you see spoke before me mentioned about the new types of work and the way that you see we can do it. But at the same time, I feel that we also have to look to those customs administrations in countries, in developing countries, and in countries in the least developed countries, because I think that's a different story. And we have to understand that there's also a big opportunity for capacity building in those regions that probably can help us make advancement. For example, we know that security and facilitation is now an issue, especially in the SAFE working group. But at the same time, we feel that there is still a lot of work to do to really deploy, you see, the right tools for it to become effective. The world is different. I know that there are customs administrations that are very well organized, that during the pandemic, they didn't make any adjustment. They didn't have to, or they just made minor ones. But there's another group of customs administration that probably could become better with the assistance of the WCO, capacity building, and probably all the other customs administration that have done it before. And I think that will be very helpful. We saw many cases of some areas where I think that they didn't have any possibility of do social distancing. And the only way that they could work was by sending documents by email, but then you see the printed copies had to be developed, dropped, you see, at the customs buildings a few days later. And probably that's not, I mean, unless they actually fully adopt new technologies, that's going to be a challenge. As that, I think that that's some of the areas of opportunity that I see in the future. Something else that probably would be different, but is also very important, is that we need to understand where we are. We met with the Policy Commission members last June, and then we presented a paper done by the members of the private sector consultative group on the business resumption for customs. And I think that was discussed. And now we are working on another one more on business resilience. And we want to try to understand, in case of you see any other major catastrophe, not only a sanitary one, but of any other type, what are the, from the private sector perspective, what are the main aspects that we can look for in order to keep, you see, the flow of goods moving around the world. As this, I think I finished my time, but you see, I'm just want to reiterate that we are here to help you, and I'm looking forward to working with you in the future in this and any other matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. King, and thank you also for the great work that the private sector consultative group is doing in promoting the cooperation and trust between the customs administrations and the private sector. It's of utmost critical importance, and the results of your work are very good. So thank you very much for that, and I fully agree with you on the points that you made. The model that we've now tested during the pandemics, as you said, it was a great pilot in a way that it allowed us to now see that we can work in this way, and that there probably are a lot of good practices that can be also carried forward to the future. So we do not necessarily have to revert back to the old working models that we saw before the pandemics. You also mentioned that there's no one-size-fits-all model, and that is a very, very important issue to be kept in mind. Sometimes we always, when we work on different types of instruments, we tend to sort of see the world as being a model. But as we've many times seen during in the customs context, there are actually different types of variations of the world out there. There are different types of functions, different types of capacities, and so forth. And obviously, all this needs to be taken into account when we're working with documents such as the compendium and guide that will now be put together as part of this work. So thank you very much for those insights, and let's see if we have a question and answer session at the end of the panel discussion. There might be a question or two that might be coming at your way on some of the issues that you presented. So thank you. Next on my list, I have Mrs. Andrea Lemgruber from the International Monetary Fund. Ms. Lemgruber, the floor is yours.
Andrea, now you can unmute your camera and microphone by clicking on those two icons at the bottom left.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we do, and we can see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So good morning from Washington, D.C. I'm Andrea Lemgruber from the IMF. I would also like to thank the WCO for this excellent initiative of discussing the customs administration of the future, right? And from a very different perspective, the perspective of the work setup, the workplace design, and workforce management. I also had the privilege to be there at the WCO in October during the global conference, and it's great to be here again. As others said, I would say this is very timely in terms of the discussion, as all private sector businesses and government agencies are searching to define the most effective work structures in what we call the new ways of working or the new normal. So I think the survey was very enlightening to show the change is complex. And some of the challenges we are seeing from the IMF include, for example, how to balance the desired flexibility to work from home with the benefits of being at the office. We needed to strike a balance here, right? Because we know the workforce needs and has learned how to operate in this kind of work from home environment. At the same time, we have the challenges to train new employees, to build and sustain the organizational culture. And we are not there yet to do this only remotely. How to handle the hybrid work practices. For example, some customs administrations are already abandoning dedicated offices and adopting touchdown or shared spaces. You just mentioned that. At the same time, we should give the capabilities for the employees to work from home effectively. For example, what is the new model of the home office, right? They needed the same technology. They seem to operate in a way that needs to be as effective as in the office. Other challenges that we are seeing is actually how to assess employee performance in the remote environment, like how to make sure we don't exclude those who are not physically present in the office. So all this, I think it's like challenges that we know and we are facing after the pandemic. And again, it's true, not all countries are in the same place. And some countries, and we see this from the IMF, don't count with the IT infrastructure that is needed to support and sustain a very good hybrid environment. Talking more about the customs itself now, I see three clear trends impacting customs administrations. The first, the changes in technology that everybody mentioned, changes that are transforming customs in data-centric and fully digital organizations. The second, changes in the trade community and the society. They are demanding supply chain agility, transparency and accountability from public administrations. I think that's very important. And safety and integrity of trade flows. And third, the changes in the workforce that we are talking about, which is demanding more flexibility, versatility, well-being of the employees, and engagement at the workplace. And this is being driven by new generations of public employees. I think we mentioned these forces, but I would like to highlight that these forces also are reinforcing each other. For example, the adoption of technology can serve to improve businesses' processes, to achieve higher productivity and transparency. As well, the technology will attract more the tech-savvy employees who themselves embrace technology. And these tech-savvy employees will demand more flexible working arrangements. So we see as a positive cycle that we can take the benefits from to try to shape our new ways of work. At the IMF, we work alongside many of you, and at the same, I will just repeat what we just heard, like we also see that there is no one-size-fits-all solution, because we see that there are different administrations at different places in this journey, the transformational journey of embracing new technologies and new models of operation. But we do see trends, and I think this is important. We see trends are taking shape. And also, I would like to reinforce what Stefan, you said, like in the beginning, in your opening remarks, we are at this moment moving away from this status of being in a kind of business continuity mode and focusing more on the emergency, short-term measures to really think about our structural changes. So this forum is really important for that. So just let me highlight a few points that I consider very important for the transformational trend, the more sustainable trend that we can see now. First, the adoption of new technologies is reducing the level of direct human intervention in the customs clearance process. And we are relying more on automated decision-making systems, and this is the selectivity channels, and they are improving the effectiveness of our work practices, at the same time reducing discretion in the transactions with traders. And this is impacting the work organization and the workforce profile dramatically. What we see, we are probably seeing more and more reliance on technology at the border and less of the traditional customs officers interacting face-to-face at the ports of entry. And the customs controls are shifting more to rely on functions that are prior to and after the release of goods. With that, we can see that the work is shifting to other types of work, and these other types of work is are going to require new types of skill set and mindset. And for example, we can see the adoption of national or regional clearance centers or centers of excellence in some customs, which can host experts in valuation, classification, and origin together. So we will see more people working together in this type of functions, or post-clearance audits, or data analysis in support of integrated compliance management. So this will require completely different skill set from those that traditionally we had at the ports of entry. So also, because we have much more data, we are going to be with much more information living in the cloud, and the access to this information inside and outside the customs administration will allow us to work in coordination with other stakeholders in a much better way. So with tax administrations, border agencies, the private sector, all this interaction and the trust that we have been mentioned is crucial, no? And of course, this is a transformation reform that will impact the profile of employees. So I would say, just to conclude, like 3 important challenges in my point of view. First, we should not simply automate or digitalize old processes that were created for the analogical customs administration. A review of processes is crucial, and they should go hand in hand with digitalization. And I think this responds to the survey when people said, oh, maybe the effectiveness of technology is not there. Well, technology is going to be effective if we rethink the process together with the adoption of technology. The work setup, second, the work setup and the organizational structures should also change to reflect this more modern, tech-savvy administration. It's not efficient to adopt the new technology and the processes and be organized the same way and allocate the internal resources as we did in the past. As I just said, more resources need to go to analytical, data-driven work, risk-based assessment, and other types of value added that we can do in customs. And finally, just to reinforce again, leadership, strategic thinking, and change management capabilities are at the heart of this transformation. So we need to make sure that we understand that the changes will not affect all the stakeholders the same way. So employees, traders, other agents, they are going to be affected differently. And we need the leadership to be very mindful to guide the change process and support this transformation. So thanks again. And from the IMF, we also stand ready to support customs administrations and work in partnership with everyone to really support this change. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Very valid and well articulated points. There would be probably several issues and areas where I would like to comment, but I'll just take up one. It's the different and new skill sets that you mentioned. We do already see that now. So all this information-based work or expert-based work that we've seen increasing even in the most basic roles of at the front lines of customs have really been something that we've seen during the last few years, and this obviously from an HR perspective has put a lot of pressure also on our salary systems and things like that, on how do we get enough skilled labor and how are we going to be able, the public sector, to pay them enough so that they will actually remain working in customs and provide us those skill sets of the future that we need in years to come. And we've already sort of made a preliminary analysis that most probably in 10 years time there will be a lot less of us, but more well paid, and then people working with broader portfolios and more versatile portfolios that will allow them to build a very interesting customs career, moving from one job to another. So very, very good point that you made there, and something that we definitely need to consider while moving forward with this part of the work. So thank you very much for your excellent points. And next on my list, I have Mr. Craig Bayong from Customs Administration Without Border for Sub-Saharan Africa. So Mr. Bayong, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Ms. Bayong, you have now rejoined as a panelist. You can unmute your microphone and camera at the bottom left.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Stefan, first for your election. Okay, you want me to start my video? Thank you very much. I hope is my video on? Video is on now. Yeah. Thank you very much. First. Sorry.
It was on for a brief moment. Now it is on, yes.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank you, Stefan, for being elected as the facilitator for this forum, the first forum of the Customs Work Organization, and as well as the speakers that have spoken before me, Sabine, Eric, Professor Wolfgang, Leah Campbell from Canada, everyone really who has spoken ahead of me. It's been, for me, a huge learning experience because it's the first time that I'm actually joining in this discussion on the Customs Work Organization. The first point I would like to mention is that customs, like any other any other profession, had to rethink the way they were working in a time of crisis. So the hybrid work models, the remote working came as a result of crisis. And I think it is time for us to think through what we have been doing and what we should be doing in future carefully. In my continent, in Africa, governments were very quick to adapt to this new way of working. And in fact, even intergovernmental organizations like the African Union quickly adapted to virtual working models, even holding virtual summits. But at the same time, this period of the pandemic was also a period that brought about a huge change in the way African customs administrations are looking towards the future, principally because of the entry into force of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which in the long term, we expect to be a continental customs union. And Africa is really a very huge continent. So customs administrations in the continent face a lot of challenges, especially because we have very long borders. Very, very huge distances. And most of the time, they are not well supported by technology or other enablements. And so, actually, for us in Africa, I think rethinking the way we work is a necessity. It's not something that we can run away from. We have to move towards new ways of sharing information and knowledge, collaborating and enhancing our sense of community. But technology, in my opinion, is actually the easy bit. And customs in Africa, I am aware that there are customs administrations that are already experimenting with the use of drones for surveillance, for border surveillance. There are customs administrations that are experimenting with use of blockchain in customs work. So many customs administrations in Africa have been quick to adopt technology in comparison to other areas of government. But the challenge that we have in many administrations is less related to technology and more a difficulty with infrastructure. For example, where I am at the moment, actually, I'm in the village. And we have no electricity. So I'm connecting. We don't have Wi-Fi. We don't have internet here. So I'm connecting using my smartphone. My smartphone. So this can be done. But what about people who are out there in the border? They don't have solar power. They may not have smartphones. How can they re-engineer their work so that they can still deliver in spite of the absence of these facilities? Secondly, I'd like to emphasize a point that has been made by many people, the issue of trust. The issue of trust. How can we trust government more? And especially it has been shown that there is a huge difference in terms of what is happening at the headquarters in the capitals and what is happening in border stations that are many times away, very much away from the center. And this is compounded by the fact that in a number of countries, they are in conflict. There is ongoing conflict in a number of countries now in Central Africa. There is ongoing conflict in West and some parts of North Africa. There is ongoing conflict in the Horn of Africa. There is ongoing conflict in some parts of Southern Africa. So where there is conflict, there is usually a challenge of how does customs work? Because in a conflict situation, customs is the first institution actually to be captured by different forces so that they can get revenue from there. Thirdly, we will need policies that safeguard the health and well-being of employees. For example, if somebody is working from home, are they still insured by the employer? And what are the legal implications? When I look at the future of customs in Africa, some of it is already happening. Like I have said, we are moving towards the use of drones, towards the use of blockchain technology, towards the use of data analytics and intelligence. And we have amazing talent, as I have realized in the last 1 month, actually. We have amazing talent in Africa. Problem is that sometimes this talent is not properly deployed. So through this work that we are doing, perhaps what would like to go back to the administration, the different administrations, and ask ourselves, what kind of skill sets do we require in the future? What do we have now? And how are we deploying what we actually have now? And this will require a very robust discussion at the national level, a robust discussion at the regional level, because we have administrations that are within customs union, like the East African Community or the Southern Africa Customs Union, but also at the continental level, because we are moving towards a customs union for the whole continent of Africa. So for me, this discussion is really, really timely, and it is a discussion that needs to be deepened, and it should be much more nuanced because we are very different, and we are really at very different levels within countries and even between countries. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bayong. Excellent points once again, and a rather different perspective on some of these issues, and couldn't agree more with you on the issue of infrastructure and the sort of last mile of delivering that type of infrastructure that for example, would allow remote working or home working. So that is a very good point. And even we, who are a rather developed environment, did have some issues with the infrastructure when it came to the more remote areas of the country and so forth. So I do and can understand and acknowledge the challenges. You also mentioned about the sort of the HR policies for home working, insurance related questions and so forth. These issues are still on my table as well to a certain extent, and even if we have worked on these things for quite some time now, there still are some issues that need to be resolved. So very good points. We now have time for two final interventions, so I apologize, not everyone will be able to speak in this session. But next on my list, I have Alice Gabel from the PwC. Ms. Gabel, the floor is yours.
Ms. Alice Gabel, you can now unmute your microphone and camera at the bottom left.
Yes, I think I'm live. Hello, thank you for having me and giving me a little bit of time to speak. I'm working at PwC in Switzerland as a consultant, but also as a 10-year HR professional before moving into HR consulting. So the whole topic around the future of work and how can we actually get it on the ground and make it operational, which is also, you know, everyone's wondering, what does it look like and where should we go? And the idea is really more like, okay, well, let's take it down a notch. And I really appreciated the several comments about the one size does not fit all, and just bringing it to something much more pragmatic to, let's take this opportunity given by COVID to hone in, hit the pause button and have a look at how we've always been doing things and how can we do them going forward. And it's really taking this opportunity, not as, you know, we did it in the painful moment of COVID and just having to be forced into it, but let's use it as an opportunity to just have a look at how we've always been doing things and how can we do them going forward. And it's, yes, looking at the tools, the technology, all these enablers is great, but bringing it back to the foundation, okay, how are we doing it? Where are we doing it? Who is doing it? And really looking into the approach of what do we need now without already trying to force a solution onto this reflection. The second thing that I wanted to bring to the forefront is the topic of obviously trust, which is something that is very, very important to us also at PwC, because something that is one of our foundation, and it's also how we want to interact with clients. But you can't build trust outside if you don't have it within. And the way that we tackle it in our private sector is really to bring it back to the scope of a team. You can't sort of force trust globally. The idea is, okay, we'll try and do it at a micro level. How do you interact with your team? What is the position of your manager? Is he a manager or is he a leader? Is that person enabling the team to grow and to be successful? Is that person finding solutions? Is that person humble? And, you know, all these topics about building trust is something that lots of people will already have and will be able to kind of thrive. But then how can we help others who don't have it in their DNA and bring them to this new approach of collaboration, of management of a team? You know, so I think we have to kind of take this opportunity to ask all the tough questions and be uncomfortable in this reflection that we don't necessarily have the answers today, lots of big four consulting groups will have lots of frameworks, and I'm part of them as well. You know, we'll have this approach of how do we help you think together of how to get there. No one has the silver bullet, otherwise, you know, all these organizations would already be copy-pasted. And we also have to think of the specificities of your organization. And in customs, we're coming back to something that was shared several times also in the chat, is hybrid, flexible home office is great, but it doesn't work for lots of other functions. You know, there are, for example, if I take it back to PwC, which is very different to what you guys are doing, is, you know, you need someone to distribute the letters, you know, you have to have people who come into the office to do tangible daily work, and flexibility is great for lots of things. If, for example, you're working on administrative tasks, or you're doing, I don't know, these non-daily jobs. But I mean, what happens if you have to open the office at 9 a.m.? You can't say, sorry, I'm flexible, I'll just open it at 7. Or I'll work after office hours. And I heard the German person who was saying that it's between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. But what happens if that's not my peak of productivity, you know? And how do you work around these different approaches of working? So I think my takeaway of what's going on now is A, ask the questions, don't be afraid of asking the questions. Be comfortable in being uncomfortable, and bring it back to something that is much more down to earth and which functions at the team level with a framework for the whole organization. So guiding principles at a macro level. And also we talked about these different discrepancies from, you know, local, you know, very specific, like in Africa or in Germany or, you know, in the US or Canada. And I think it's better to kind of define overarching principles of where the organization wants to go, and then leave the application to a more like local and team level. So that was just my food for thought on that one.
Thank you very much, Alice. Excellent points once again, and the point that you made there about the home office, couldn't agree more. For example, when we look at issues such as networking, collaboration, creative work, where we need to have the team present, the home office and the Skype or Zoom or Teams types of meetings are really, really unproductive. And actually, that's one of the reasons why we're sort of thinking a three-pronged approach, so that we would have the home office, then perhaps the satellite office, and then the customs hub where you could come together with your team members and then do the creative bit of the work, and perhaps do that once a week or once in 2 weeks or whatever you and your team decide to do. I really liked also the point, let me just check whether I got it correctly. So be comfortable in being uncomfortable. I like that. That's excellent, and definitely need to take that and use it also here. So thank you very much for your great intervention, and I'm sure that we'll get back to you when the work commences, and we'll look at some of these issues in more detail. So time for one final intervention. I have Mr. Hamad Al-Humaidi from the Saudi Arabia Customs on my list. Mr. Al-Humaidi, the floor is yours.
Mr. Ahmad, you can now unmute your microphone and camera at the bottom left.
Yes. Yes, hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do, and we can see you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to be attending the Work Organization Forum. This is the first time, by the way, I attended from my side. So I would like to thank the WCO and also the capacity building led by Dr. Tilking, and also all the panelists who's participating in this, and also for you, Stefan, for facilitating the discussion, which was amazing, I will be honest. leading the discussion and also summarizing all the points being mentioned before. So from our side, in KSA, we are managing in two sides. It's not just only the custom, also we have a tax as well. So I will try to share our experience from what's happened in the business, more than just points, because it's already been mentioned from the other participant, a lot of points that can be considered from other, authority, custom authority, worldwide. So I think from our side, when the pandemic started, I think the advantage of it, it's been pushing all the people in order towards to change the way of work. So, and this is, it's pushed the people in order to try the work from home for certain jobs. And for sure, some of the jobs, it cannot be performed working from home. So, and this has pushed also the management or the top management to believe that even if you're working from home, the productivity, it will be still remain the same, if it's not more, because most of the people, they are comfort if they are in either that in their village or in their with their family. So they have more time instead of have the transportation and all of that things, and they are more focused and more engaged. So I think this has helped us and our custom authority in order to change the concept. Okay, working from home doesn't mean that slow productivity. So this has already been proving through, a practical example. And this is, by the way, it's been implemented from the head, the president or the governor. He's still, he's working from home and he see exactly what's happening and what's the result. And the same things for other ministers in the government. So this is one thing that's give the top management a trust in order to adopt the new, work type, either that hybrid or remotely, etc. And this has helped us as HR leader in order to, implement this concept and also to monitor it. One of the issues that we face, it's usually with the top management, it's about, okay, even if they are working, how to measure the productivity. So I think the trust you can you can manage it and you can solve it through putting a clear KPI. And instead of focusing in attendance, that it's like attendance in the morning and also leaving in the afternoon. So focus on exactly what you need from this employee as the list of action item that you want to have it by the end of the day or by the end of the week or by the end of the month, depending on your work. So it's helped us big time in order to manage either that the top management expectation or also to manage our workforce. And I will be honest with you, this is what we did when it's in the pandemic time, and it's worked very well with us. I will be honest, doesn't mean that still we have some of manpower is not being utilized in a proper way. Yes, but this is part of the lesson learned, and it's the journey of learning and increasing also the way of utilization, either that the system or even adapting the, like what I said, it's focusing more on the productivity than the attendance itself. So the most important things and the biggest challenge when we start with the pandemic, it's about the technology and using, for example, either that the VPN and laptop, because most of our employees, they have a desktop. So this is one of the challenge that we face it. We provide, or most of our employees, laptops. Some of them we give, it's an exception, security that you can use your own laptop if it's needed. So in order to perform your job, and this is, alhamdulillah, went well. Also, I think one of the things that's already been mentioned before, in the future, it's not needed to be in the pandemic in order to try a new work style. After all the employees being returned back, we adopt the new concept of working from remote, and this is it's already now in the policy. It's there after they already seeing the proof of it. Also, we start from our organization to adopt as one of our strategic, enabler is digitization and focusing more in order to reduce the human mistakes and error, comparing to focusing in the machine and e-learning. And this is what we are focusing on it in order to reduce, the intervention from the human and more focusing in the machine area. Also, we revised a lot of processes, and based on, we try to review it again and make it more smooth, more easy in order to help also, either that the customer or even our employees in order to perform their job, even if they are in working from remote. I think the most important things, like what I said, it's help us to retain our employees, and this is a key factor. I will be honest, after the pandemic been closed, we struggle with to keep our employees. And by the way, some of the company, but in the private sector, they are working full time, from home, and they are more than happy. So they are satisfying with their salary, etc. But at least you're focusing on the work-life balance for the employees, and this is it's a big things for the employees. I think the last point I want to highlight before I want to just give some comments about the survey. It's about the change management. It's very important, very critical, and we saw it. We need to focus more on it, and also we need to communicate with our employees. Doesn't mean that you are working from home that you can do whatever you want. You need to have a disciplines, and you need to also help in order to achieve the certain goals that have been putting by the top management. The last things, it's related to the survey. I would like to thank C. Mohammed for sharing the survey. I would love, because I participate as well in OCD, and I think the WCO also, it's a very strong organization. I would love to see deep dive analysis about even manpower ratio, participation, etc. Because I will be honest, we use it in order to convince our top management and also the board if we want to change any type or any style of work, or even requesting a manpower or whatsoever. So I would love if this is being considered in the future. This will help us a lot, and helping also other authority in that way. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I hope at least I share some of real experience that's happened with us. Thank you so much, Stephen. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Al-Humaidi. Excellent points. I'll refer the questions in relation to the survey to C. Mohammed, but I need to pick up one of the points that you made, and it relates to productivity and KPIs. Excellent point, and we've been struggling with this issue, and it's sort of been. We've had a similar experience to yours, that once the managers and the top leaders started doing remote work and hybrid work, then they started believing that it can be done in a very effective way. But being able to put together KPIs and being able to show those productivity hikes that I believe personally that have happened would obviously help. And this would be indeed an important area to be included also in the compendium. So thank you very much for your point. And you also mentioned the magic word of work-life balance, which definitely is something that we are trying to bank on when trying to get our employees now after the pandemics stay with customs, even if they have some higher offers from the private sector and so forth. So thank you very much. And actually, this brings us to the conclusion of the panel discussion. Let me just quickly thank all the speakers for the great interventions and the many views and visions that were shared during the session. Now there's lots of food for thought and great insights and visions for the secretariat team to take forward with the work in relation to the compendium. I also checked the chat and saw that there were lines and lines of questions and responses, which obviously is extremely great to see. As the facilitator's conclusions, I would like to ask the secretary to capture the following conclusions. So the forum took note of the participants' interventions and insights on the evolution of customs work organization in the future. The forum especially took note of the various elements of work arrangements, workplace organization, and workforce management practices that need to be strengthened, developed, and or modified in the future. These insights will guide the work done in the interim period between now and the next forum session to collect participants' case studies to be included in the compendium. And with that, we are now going to move on to agenda item 5. Okay, so we're a bit behind the schedule, but I don't think that that we would be falling behind too drastically, and I think that we'll still be able to finish our session by 4 o'clock this afternoon. So under the agenda item 5, the participants are invited to discuss and elaborate the work plan and way forward to enable the implementation of the forum activities. Obviously, one of the key objectives of the establishment of the forum was to bring about this networking and exchange of few types of benefits. And I think that we've already seen today that the forum has been very, very useful in this regard. So the terms of reference that was adopted as part of agenda item 2 highlights the 3 meetings for the Customs Work Organization Forum during the next 12 months. So the one that we're having today, and then the next one in spring of 2023, and then the last one in autumn of 2023. So that part of the working plan, so the sort of networking benefits from this work that we are doing, to me seem to be quite clearly addressed. Well, then the second objective of the forum relates to the support that we're expected to provide the Secretariat with in relation to the WCO compendium of best practices on work organization, workplace design, and workforce management, as well as the support towards the creation of the WCO guide on flexible/hybrid working models in customs administrations. And now that we've had the sort of survey results, we've had this great plenary session that just finished. Both of these vehicles have given us plenty of good inputs and insights on those issues that probably should be included in the compendium and the guide. So the next step really here would be to agree on how to take this part of the work forward that concentrates on putting together the set of case studies that would then be published as part of the or in the form of the compendium. And based on the discussion that I just heard during the plenary session, I think that there are sort of these 3 areas or work streams that have now emerged. One relating to the work arrangements, work processes, and work setup. Second, in relation to the sort of workplace design, offices, how much of them do we need, what types of offices do we need, and so forth. And the third work stream would sort of be there to capture the workforce management and human capital management related practices that probably require some amending in the new normal as we approach it. So with this introduction, I'm sort of proposing that we would organize ourselves, as C. Mohammed mentioned in the beginning of the session, into 3 working commissions that would then support the Secretariat in capturing these different case studies that exist in these 3 areas. Based on the survey, we know that there were almost 60 countries that were willing to share their examples and cases. So in that regard, I'm looking forward to some sort of not too difficult task for the commissions to be able to gather those case studies and to put them together under those respective work streams. So if this type of working arrangement would be okay for the forum, we would then obviously need a voluntary facilitator for each of the commissions that would sort of coordinate the work done between now and the next meeting of the forum. We'll talk in a second a bit more about the WCO Click platform that will sort of exist as the vehicle for doing a lot of this work. The work will be done virtually and through the Click platform. And once we've sort of found out those voluntary facilitators for the commissions, we would then obviously invite everyone in this forum to take part at least in one work commission to support the work being done in those work streams towards our next forum session. What would happen then next if we are able to get those voluntary facilitators for the commissions? A meeting between the facilitators, myself, and our secretariat colleagues would be organized to craft sort of the exact next steps on how the commissions would work. And following that meeting, the work of the commissions could then begin, and the facilitators of the commissions will contact all the participants that have signed up to these different commissions into the Click platform. And then the commissions would start their work and proceedings in collecting the case studies. The case studies would be collected, as mentioned, in the spring of 2023, and the commissions would probably be expected to deliver some sort of an interim progress report of their work during the next forum meeting in May. Then the work would continue, and the sort of the final product, the compendium, would be available during our last meeting in October. And I need to reiterate here that the compendium drafting will then be done by the secretariat colleagues, but would be supported by the forum. So with this rather lengthy introduction, I'm seeking two things here. First, I would like to hear your thoughts and comments on the presented work plan, and I apologize that I don't have it in a written format. And then secondly, we would be seeking for 3 voluntary facilitators to coordinate the work of the commissions. So on these notes, I will now open the floor. I would like to seek your views, and then I would like to see 3 voluntary facilitators coming to the fore and raising their hand and being able to support us and the secretariat in leading the work within these commissions. So the floor is now open for comments and for nominations. And we're going to nominate persons through their own nominations, so no need for any other country to nominate a voluntary facilitator. Anyone who's interested and willing to facilitate will now have the chance to raise their hand, and they will be given the role. Wonderful. I see Mrs. Campbell from Canadian Border Service Agency raising her hand. Leah, thank you very much. I will now turn the floor to you to see which one of the commissions you would be willing to lead, or whether you only have some comments on the work model or the way forward. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to nominate myself to lead a panel on workforce management, if others would support that.
We would most certainly support that. So thank you very much, Leia, and you have now been nominated as the voluntary facilitator for the Workforce Management Commission of our work. So thank you very much. Mr. Al-Humaidi from Saudi Arabia Customs.
Yes, hi. I'm interested to nominate myself in workplace design to be facilitator for this commission. So And I will be happy, inshallah, to help and support with also the rest of the members.
Thank you very much, Mr. Al-Humaidi, and you have been now nominated as the leader for the Commission on Workplace Design. I guess was the area that you were willing to lead. So thank you very much. Now there would be a need for one additional voluntary facilitator. I'm looking at my list of participants. Let me see. I do see that there's one hand up. Let me just go through the list. Okay, so no, it was a miscue. Sorry for that. So it seems that we have two voluntary leaders for the commissions, and the one in relation to work setup or work process reengineering is still needed. So C. Mohammed, do you have any thoughts on this? Could we also accept nominations after the meeting if there's no one that feels comfortable in leading this third commission? What do you think?
I think we can proceed like that because we have some interest from some colleague, but I can't say them. But they inform by message that they want to lead this. We have a representative from Netherlands Customs that they want to lead that, but we can proceed as you said, and now we can accept the two, and the third one it will be mentioned after the meeting, if that it's okay with all the participants, except if we have someone who is interested to lead this commission.
There are 3 raised hands on the attendees list. Maybe
excellent. Thank you very much. I do see some hands up. I have a colleague from Kenya. The floor is yours.
Kenya, please click on the message on screen to reload the full Zoom interface. Kenya should rejoin as a panelist. Kenya, you can now unmute yourself at the bottom left by clicking on the microphone and camera icon.
Afternoon all. With the guidance, I would wish to nominate myself as a participant of the, what was it again? Work
setup commission.
Work setup initiative.
Thank you very much, Kenya and Mr. Chiari.
Please, Stefan.
Yes, please.
I think our colleague from Kenya, he mentioned that he wants to be only a participant, not as leading. We are looking, because for all the participants, I will give more details. If you allow me, please, Stefan. I just sent on the chat the 3 links, and also you will find all of them again on the event website, even with the guidelines on how to connect. And we give you also a mail address if you want to register to any of those 3 as a participant to any of those commissions. However, here we are looking for someone who will be leading or facilitating the meetings of these 3 commissions. Now for the one remaining, it's work setup or work organization, please.
thank you, C. Mohammed, for the additional clarification. And we'll probably do it as follows. So we now have 2 facilitators for the commissions on workplace design and workforce management. And the third one, we already have some interest towards participation in that group. We still have the question of the chair open. But if okay with you, C. Mohammed, I'd like to task you and your secretariat colleagues to work on this question and to perhaps clarify and confirm with for example the Dutch customs whether they would have that interest to lead that part of the work. But the third leader of the work process or work setup commission will be sought right after the end of the forum. So if that's okay with everyone, we'll move on with those conclusions. So the forum took note of the.
Please, sorry,
yes,
Stefan.
Please.
It's okay, sorry to cut you. My colleagues here in the room told me that I think here we can see D. Bonnie van Blarcom, but as we mentioned, we need to know from which organization he or she is, but we cannot accept that if now he can or she can at least ask for the floor at Customs and Border Management Service, LLCT. I don't know. Okay. Customs and Border Management Service. No, we have the other one. Huh? No, we have 2 now, and now it will complicate. We have again, we have another one, which is Morocco, El Bouazawi Ahmed. Now we have 2. Now, if we can at least listen to both of them, and all participants can agree. What do you think, please, Stefan?
Well, yes, indeed. If we can open the floor for the 2 colleagues to speak, perhaps we can find a solution between the 2 of them. So first, D. Bonnie van Blarcom, and then we'll have the colleague from Morocco.
I'm promoting both of them as panelists. D. Bonnie, you can unmute your microphone and camera.
I'd be glad to help facilitate the work program. I've worked in 19 countries and would welcome the opportunity to co-facilitate with a colleague from Morocco.
And the floor is now the colleague from Morocco, please.
Okay. Merci beaucoup. Donc, je me porte volontaire pour co-animer avec la personne qui m'a précédé, la commission de l'organisation du travail. Si tout le monde est d'accord.
Thank you very much for the interventions. I do see a comment in the chat, and I do agree with that comment that perhaps when we talk about the customs processes and the work setup, it would be very useful to have a WCO member customs administration leading that bit of the work. And I do see that our colleague from Moroccan Customs is serving one of our members. So on that note, if we could ask our colleague from Morocco to act as the lead facilitator, and then our colleague who spoke before, the Moroccan colleague, to be the sort of co-facilitator of the group with the Moroccan colleague. But the lead facilitator would be our colleague from Morocco. So if that is okay with everyone, I'll then draw those types of conclusions. The forum took note of the work plan and the way forward for the forum and for the creation of the support to the creation of the WCO compendium on the best practices or good practices in relation to workplace or new working models. We also got 3 nominations for the facilitator's role in relation to the work streams. For the work process setup, the facilitator for that stream of the work will be Mr. Ahmed El Bouazaoui from Moroccan Customs. We also have a co-facilitator for that group, who is D. Bonnie van Blarkorn. Then for the Workplace Design Commission, we have as the voluntary facilitator our colleague from Saudi Arabia, Mr. Hamad Al Humaidi. And for the third work stream, for the workforce management bit of the work, our colleague, Mrs. Leah Campbell from the Canadian Border Services Agency will facilitate that part of the work. Now, in relation to being able to sign up to the CLIC platform and to be able to register for the commissions, and you can decide whether you want to register only for one commission or whether you want to be working across the different commissions. So signing up for several commissions. C. Mohammed, I do know that you mentioned that you might be posting some links on the chat box, and okay, and there they are. Would you like to explain to countries on how to sign up for the commissions, and for the private sector colleagues on how to be able to get the right connections to be able to join the work?
Yeah, thank you very much, Stefan. My colleague here from the e-learning team will be giving more details on that. But before that, kindly, I'm asking Ms. Bonnie van Blarkom to send us her email address to be able to send her the email. Yes, please, Eric, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, to help you to access the forums, a manual will be shared with you, which will outline how you can actually log in. But now I will just summarize what is outlined in that manual. So if you already have a CLIC account, then you can simply log in to the CLIC homepage, and then you then go to the homepage and select access your meetings and working groups, and this will take you to a list of meetings and courses, and on that page you'll be able to see three different courses related to these forums. And then to enter them, you enter your password. And the password is the same for all of the groups, and the password is CWOF 2022. But this will all be outlined in the guidelines which we will share. And then you will have access. If you are a customs officer, but you do not already have a CLIC account, then you can create your own account. And this is done by going to the homepage again of CLIC, and you can register via your national coordinator, and they will give you access to the CLIC platform, and once you have access, then you can follow the steps which I outlined previously. So it will be the same process, going to the home page and then enter in the password to enter the forums. And then finally, if you are from academia or from the private sector, then you can send the e-learning team an email with your first name, last name, and email address, and then we will make an account for you and give you access to the forums. So the e-learning email address is elearning@wcoomd.org. And then also, if you have any general questions about how to access the forum, then you can always contact us at elearning@wcoomd.org, and we will be happy to help you and to give you access to the forums.
Thank you very much, Eric, for the explanation. And with this, I'll now close this part of the agenda, and we'll move on to agenda item 6, any other business. There were no items that were raised for this agenda part at the beginning of the meeting. So we'll move directly to agenda item 7, which includes the closing remarks. So just to remind you quickly, a meeting report will be prepared by the secretary, and it will be circulated to all participants. The meeting report will also be presented to the Capacity Building Committee next February. And as mentioned, the survey results that were presented here will also be presented during the Capacity Building Committee's next session. So with these remarks, now let me turn the floor back to Director Kang for his closing remarks. Director Kang, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairperson. So whenever I have a meeting like this, online meetings, a 3-hour non-stop meeting is well, it's not easy for everyone, so I think it's time for me to wrap it up as soon as possible. So thank you very much for all those the participation and enthusiastic all the comments and ideas for this the workshop. So we, based on your very valuable ideas and opinions, that we will make some compendium, and that we will report this result to the Capacity Building Committee and the relevant the committees, including Policy Commission and maybe Council if it is necessary. So I hope that, of course, I'd like to thank again all the chairperson and the voluntary facilitators, and of course our interpretation and technical service from Nick, and again I'd like to ask all of you to register and contribute to the 3 commissions which was introduced just a minute ago. So I hope that you will have good morning or afternoon and evening and night for this day, and I hope that we will meet again in the WCO building or somewhere else. Thank you very much for your the participation and attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Kang, for your closing remarks. Let me also thank the Secretariat staff for its great support. Especially C. Mohammed, you've done a wonderful job in helping me with putting all this together. And I'd also like to thank the technical staff, Nick, for making these connections work. Invaluable help. And also our interpretation team for their invaluable contribution. And I apologize that we went a few minutes over time. And last but not least, let me also thank all the participants to the forum. And thanks once again for taking the time out of your busy schedules and being here and contributing to this collective. I'm very much looking forward to continuing these discussions in May, and let me wish all the best for the commissions for their work in the interim period. So with these words, it's time to wish you all the best of success for the rest of the year, and the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.